Yo, what's up, man? We are live, as the alien scientist says. Yo, what's up, man? We are live, as the alien scientist says. Yes, it works. Good, good. Glad to hear it. Okay, so hello, everyone. Welcome. I have with me Seth Aaron Fletcher. Hey, Seth. How you doing? Rick Horden. How would you do? Woody Black, who says chairs. I don't know what that means. Chairs. Hey, Seth. How you doing, mate? Nice to see you. Dutton, is that you? Oh, are you talking about Ed Dutton? Yeah, you've read the. Oh, you must have read the bloody book, Rick. Woody Black, how's you doing? And see how we are living. Good evening. He says I enjoyed your Glastonbury hippie excursion, all 5 hours of it. Oh goodness me, it wasn't as long as the Isle of Man, but yeah, it was. It was quite something, wasn't it? Yeah, it was quite something. Good evening, Rhiannon. How are you? And David Schultz. Greetings, Ben. Once John Keel said to me, "Watch out, they are right behind us." Are they? Right. Yeah, how you doing, guys? And hello to Tolkien Study. Welcome. Hello, Ben. Is this Dan Brown's book or Dante? It is Dan Brown. Hello, David. How you doing, David? But Tolkien Study, of course, the whole purpose of Inferno, it's sort of centered on Dante's Inferno from the Divine Comedy, which I did have a quick look through. I haven't read it all. I mean, it's actually quite difficult to read for the modern eyes, and I got the original translation. But good evening, anyone. A prophetic book. Which one? The Divine Comedy, or this one? Because this one's bloody pathetic. Yeah, it's pathetic. It's prophetic. Yes. In fact, that's what I want to go into. You teach Dante. Oh, good on you. Because there's lots of references. Hello, Ian Bennett. How do you do? Ian, thanks for. Well, I had a private conversation with Ian, and he made me aware of some phenomena. But thanks. Well, I won't talk about it here, Ian. But thanks for getting in touch with me. Hello, Cloppite. How do you do? Nice to see you. Good job. You're all here. Tolkien says Dan Brown went to my school. All right, because of course he must have studied Dante Alighieri. I mean, the book actually goes into a lot of Dante's life, about his life and loves and things like that. The church where he went to, and how the Inferno and the Purgatory and Paradiso has kind of like influenced things. You may have noticed that I actually chose the Sandro Botticelli's painting based on the Divine Comedy, which you may have seen, in the promotion for this particular live stream, the little notice I put up. And Tolkien says his death mask. Yeah, it's all true. Of course, the death mask is actually a major MacGuffin. It's a major prop in the entire story of Inferno. And of course, it's very typical Dan Brown. Actually, I think he writes kind of partly, as I said, partly it is it's kind of partly travel literature for Americans, because most Americans I know are fascinated by European history, and they often say, there's this. It's because it's much older than American history. There's this like running joke, in the United States, 100 years sounds like a long time when it doesn't in Europe. And in Britain, or was it not Europe, especially Britain, but in Britain, 100 miles sounds like a long way when it's not in the US. So this is kind of it's partly travel literature. And there's loads of little I'll ask in a minute, but I was just going to say there's loads of little kind of like tangents and diversions, which probably some editors would have told him to get rid of, involving just discussions of the history and of the area. And indeed, if you often find the main character, Robert Langdon, musing over various curiosities, which he wouldn't do in those situations when he's fleeing from his life from some crazy spiky-haired bitch with a gun. He's not going to be stopping every so often and sort of like looking around saying, "Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I could tell you a little bit about the history of this map and this particular painting and stuff like that." He'd just be saying, "Where's the bitch with the gun?" Yeah. So can you put So this is a watch read party. Could you put a B in chat right now if you've read the book? I must say, it's been a long time. When it's watch read, I always leave a little more time because, of course, it's more difficult to read a book than watch a film. But it could be that no one's read the book. I mean, B. Tolkien, you've read the book. Great one, mate. Yeah, being a Dante aficionado and Dante expert, you probably have read this book. Yeah. But I did read a bit of the Divine Comedy. I found it hard to get into. I didn't read the whole thing, which I said I'd do before I did the review, but I didn't. It's like I said, it's reading how it's changed over the years, but it has some very interesting features, which you see, for example, in What Dreams May Come, the last watch read party we did. Okay, so Tolkien Study, I think, is the only person who appears to have read the book. That's okay. I mean, you're not obliged to do that. Could you put an F in the chat right now? Yeah, Dan Brown writes about Florence. He does. He makes it almost feel like you're there. And Seth has just answered my next question. Could you put an F in chat right now if you've watched the film? Seth says yes. You've only watched the film. It's interesting because what's interesting about it is that the film and the book they're different in theme and they end very differently. Tolkien says Effie's watched the film. Yeah. The film is not as good. Seth's watched the film. Cool. Anyone else? Anyone else seen the film Inferno by Ron Howard, the 2016 film based on this book? All right. No worries. No problem. We can talk about the kind of issues that come from this book regardless. So I don't know how long this live stream is going to be. I'll just keep it going until as long as you guys want to talk about this. With reason, it's not going to be like 4 hours like the last one I did. I'm not doing another. I'm not staying up till midnight again, doing 4 hours. I do have to work tomorrow. Hello, Woody Black. How you doing? How you doing? So, now, just to give you a bit of a brief introduction. I'll do all your posted there. I'll just go through the notice comments. I need to go through the notice comments. Get them out of the way, Ben, because otherwise you'll forget them. All right, notice comments. Vix says, yo, Vix. Vix, it's literally Vix. They're not in chat right now. I just had a vivid dream where I was at a place of worship. It felt like not a church, but something more than we have on Earth. And there were thousands of people and beings all around waiting to talk to a group of people beings at the end section of the place. Okay, so all of a sudden, they started to chant and speak to us, and every person and being, including myself, were holding pelvic bones, assumingly our own bones. So as the chanting went on, the bones we held vibrated, shaked, and moved in my hand, and assumingly same for all that were there, and were possibly being processed or analyzed, is how I describe it, because the beings and persons that were chanting started walking to each bone and checking them. No idea what was happening to the others around me, but it felt as if this was a place of blessing or something. Anyway, when they finally got to me and asked me a few questions, and all I kept saying is, I'm in a coffin, and these are my bones. What do I do with them? Then they hovered their hand over what I was holding, and then smoke covered it, and moisture started to drip, and the person being then stated very clearly that I am still alive and can return to my body if I want to. So I did, and woke up and wrote this out. And I wanted to tell everyone. I'm so freaking trippy, no idea what to make of it, but I'm vibrating today. Well, Vix, thanks for sharing that, and definitely, it's a good job you wrote it down, because if you don't write it down, you forget. I mean, I know about dreams; it's very easy to forget. I mean, the only reason I remember that song that was in my dream in Glastonbury is because I sung it. I sung it to everyone on the video. I don't know what that means. It sounds like it could be some death process fantasy or something. Maybe it's you have the body and the soul disconnected. I don't know. Well, thanks for sharing that. Marley Pumpkin. Oh God, there's a blast from the past. Marley Pumpkin says, you and 34 other people, lol. What, 35, Marley, because you're watching, eh? You don't have to, Marley. I know you do. But you're actually helping me, believe it or not. I know you sub to me. You must do, because you always find my stuff, even though I'm shadow banned. So you're obviously shubbed. David Smith says, you're still on the internet, Marley. Apparently, yeah. And the Crafty Nihilist says, I'm grateful for 34 people, to be honest. Quality over quantity, Crafty. You may not get many viewers, but the ones you get are bloody good. So, Rhiannon Jones says, as somebody who doesn't do fiction, I'm probably out of my depth here. I know I know a lot of people don't are not really into fiction and stuff like that. But it's worth watching the movie if you maybe I'll be explaining a little synopsis of the book, and in fact I do that in the review section of this particular live stream. Listen, Tolkien says, I'm glad you're here, Tolkien, actually, because you know a lot about this book. The anti-hero is based on a transhumanist. Yes, Bertrand Zabriskie. I don't know if you see the Bertrand Zabriskie character. Let's have a look. Right, he's a transhumanist genius scientist who's obsessed with Dante's Inferno, and a primary antagonist in the novel. He's intent on solving the world's overpopulation problem by releasing a V, the not the V ends with an S, the disease. Elizabeth Sinsky. I mean, I don't know if it's really weird, but I don't know about you. I always imagine what people look like and sound like when I'm reading a book. I'm reading it, and I'm almost like adapting it into a film in my head. But when Elizabeth Sinsky came along and she was described physically, I immediately pictured her as someone I know who looks a bit like her. It's really weird, but who looked and sounded exactly like her. It's really weird. The Elizabeth Sinsky in the film is very different. She's somebody younger, sort of dark haired, played by a Swedish actress. Yeah. All right. So I'm glad you're here, Tolkien Study. Yeah. Just want to say hello to everyone. DJ B2, hello. How do you do? DJ says, I spent a summer living in Florence and rented an apartment in Piazza della Signora above the Banco Toscana, if I pronounced that correctly. Hey, DJ, that's great. So you know a little bit about Florence. I mean, I've never been to Florence, so I've seen pictures of it. It looks lovely, and the descriptions in the book really do a lot. Tolkien, is he based on Bertrand Russell? I didn't know Bertrand Russell was. I know he was a sort of atheist and a atheo-skeptical materialist. He had he made several MBA speeches. Yeah. Florence is a place in my heart. It's a beautiful place. I mean, I'm fascinated by the bridge with the houses built on it. I mean, that's really quite something. And of course, it's also the site of a famous UFO. And I'm not going to go into this in detail because that's not what this is about. But it's the site of a famous UFO event that happened in 1954 at the Fiorentina ground. I don't know if you know. I don't know if Fiorentina still play there actually, but I know the rugby. It's used by the Italian rugby team, the national rugby team. It's Stadio Artemio Franchi. It's actually been expanded since in those days. It used to have a capacity of about 10,000. It's now got like about 40,000 in there now. But in 1954, there was a UFO close encounter which everyone saw, including the Fiorentina players and their opponents and all the fans. It was mentioned in the fanzine. I've done an article and a video about that. Right. Oh, Tolkien says, I've been talking about this book for a long time, even before the whole V thing. Yeah. Now, this is where it becomes interesting because as I explained in the review, the film and the book have a totally different theme and a totally different outcome. And the film is much more like a kind of classic Dan Brown, Ron Howard adaptation. And it's kind of more like because it's the good guys and the bad guys. The bad guys want to do something bad, and the good guys stopped them. I know I explained all this in the review, but I want to go into detail again with you guys. Now, the in the book, it's very different. What happens in the book? At some point, you realize that the main protagonist, Langdon, and especially Felicity, his assistant, is actually very much on. Yes, Tolkien. It's all right. Tolkien. It's all right. There's going to be plenty of spoilers in this. It's already too late. Yeah, especially Felicity, his assistant, and several other characters, and eventually even Langdon himself. You get the feeling that then they have a much more equivocal attitude towards the bad guy, but Sir Breeze. Sir Breeze is like he's hardly seen. He actually commits suicide at the beginning. But as you know, Sir Breeze wants to release an agent to control the world's population because he believes the world's overpopulated. He's a transhumanist, but he's also a Malthusian. He believes basically that the world's population needs to be radically reduced in order to prevent an ecological catastrophe, which will kill most of the living world, including humanity. And this is a theme, like I've mentioned. I've done videos, and I've done entire videos about this and articles about Utopia, the TV series Utopia. There's several other examples. This seems to be becoming a more and more mainstream idea, and I get the feeling Dan Brown, I don't know about what his beliefs are, but he certainly I think he's very sympathetic towards the antagonist in the book. This doesn't come out in the movie, even though Dan Brown co-wrote the script. Eugenics, yeah, Tolkien mentions eugenics as well. Those who do not fall in line will not be able to procreate, said Tolkien. Yeah, and well, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying the word virus, because we're talking about fiction here. The virus, the Inferno virus, this red liquid in this bag. He wants to do it theatrically, so he dresses up as a plague doctor with the mask, with the nose, like the one in Eyes Wide Shut. And he makes this video where he justifies what he's doing in this mystery location, which of course the purpose of the book is to decode this video and all the other clues to find out exactly where this cave is and stop this bag from rupturing, because the bag is made out of a special plastic that gradually degrades, and it will rupture and release the virus into the environment. Once it's in the environment, it'll just spread all over the world. Hey, not my rabbit hole with Terry Joyce. Hey Terry, how you doing? There's a really good live stream on Terry. Well, there's lots of good live streams, but there's one in particular I'd like you to watch if you haven't already. It's one with me in. Well, there's two with me in, but it's the most recent one because we go into a lot of ufology stuff, Terry and I. So thanks for joining me, Terry. Much appreciated. Nice lives matter. Talking of Eyes Wide Shut, have you heard the latest Harvey Keitel story? No, I mean, he wasn't in the film, but maybe that's something to look into. As Tolkien said, eventually they decode it. They eventually decode it, and they work after a long and very complicated journey, well, a very short one. You see, as with all Dan Brown's books, this one has a very, very fast pace, very fast. The entire course. It's a long book, but everything happens within the space of 24 hours, basically 24 hours. And when they eventually find it's not even in Florence at all. And then they go to several other places. They go to Rome, and then they try to find it there. Was it Venice? Sorry, Venice. They go to Venice and try and find it. And then they realize, actually, there's that moment when he says, we're not in the wrong city, we're in the wrong country. And they have to go to Istanbul in Turkey, where it's at the Hagia Sophia, the famous church and mosques. Well, Terry, I'm glad you are here, Terry. Thanks for joining us. Carl Keitel's going to play. All right. Who's he going to? Oh, sorry. He was going to. Here we are. He was going to play Ziggler, was he? Oh, right. That's interesting. I think he'd have been quite good. He'd have been quite good. He was very good in that film, Holy Smoke. I thought that was a good film. Anyway, Pat Riot, welcome. How do you do? Nice to see you. That's right. St. Mark's in Venice. And as Tolkien, Tolkien study says in the book, it's explained how it's because the Doge, the head of Venice, the guy who used to be the ruler of the Venetian Republic, had had a had like a colony in Venice, and they were like a colony in Istanbul, and ruled it, and it was a Venetian colony for a while, and maybe that's why he eventually decides to release it in this cistern. It's called the cistern in Istanbul. It's these underground chambers where it's full of water, but there's like some balconies where they play music and things like that. Marley Pumpkin, a hobo with glasses. I know you are, Marley. Yes. The blind Doge, yes. And it's again, you have these puzzles to solve, these various poems and rhymes that have to be decoded. It's just like the Da Vinci Code in that respect. But I didn't think much of. What was the other thing? I've read 3 Dan Brown books now, and there's one I didn't like, the one about the Large Hadron Collider. DJ Booter, the Doge was basically an extortionist on the trade routes. I'm glad you guys are all here, because like you know about the book, you know about this book. So yeah, it says very clearly here the film. The first half of the film is mostly faithful to the novel, deviating significantly towards the end, specifically that Langdon and his team arrive at the baths in time to prevent the release of the virus, rather than arriving a week after it's deployed. Yeah, by the time they arrive at the cistern and they find angels and demons, that was it, Tolkien study. Yeah, they find that the bag has already popped, and the virus is. They say the actual date, the date which Zabrist talks about when he's doing his speech in the Plague Mask, is actually the date when the virus is basically infected everyone in the world, which means a third of I think it's either 2/3 or a third of the people in the world become essentially infertile. So the men's sperm are destroyed, all the women become barren, things like that. So that reminds me very much of Utopia. Marley Pumpkin says more paranoia. Yeah, but you love it, Marley, don't you? You can't stop watching me. David has asked a very good question. What did Dan Brown think of the changes in the film? Now, that's a good point. That's a good question, David, because I was surprised when I found out he'd co-wrote the script. Presumably, he didn't withdraw. He'd negotiated the rights with Ron Howard. Ron Howard has always adapted his films, and Ron Howard did a damn good job a very good job indeed with Da Vinci Code. The film of Da Vinci Code is very good. Tolkien study, yes, utopia means no place. That's right. That's what it literally means. So yeah, I'm curious. We'll have a look into that. Let's see if I can find a reference. If you can find anything, let me know. Response from critics. Okay, critical reception. Inferno received mixed results. Right. Yeah. By the way, the assistant I was talking about, Robert's assistant, is called Sienna. Felicity was the name of the actress who played her in the film. That's why I got it confused. It's actually Sienna, played by Felicity Jones. Yeah, it's Sienna Brooks, Dr. Sienna Brooks, this young woman who accompanies Robert Langdon around the place. Inferno 2016. Yeah. Critical reception. Inferno received generally negative reviews from critics. It wasn't that good, actually. It wasn't that good. The film had approval rate of 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. It said here, seamless, senselessly frantic, and altogether shallow. Inferno sends the Robert Langdon trilogy spiraling into a convoluted new low. Right. If you remember, I read out a couple of the reviews in the review, a couple of the film critics in my own review part of this particular watch party, read party trilogy. It says here, they deduce the weapon is in a plastic bag hidden underwater in the Basilica Cistern in Istanbul, which is what happens in the book. The agents team join Langdon, Sims, and Sinsky. They race to locate and secure the bag, while Brooks and fellow Zabrish disciples attempt to detonate an explosive to rupture the bag and aerosolize the weapon. Sims incapacitates their disciple and kills another, but is fatally stabbed by Brooks, who, refusing Langdon's pleas, releases the weapon by manually triggering an underwater blast. The detonation ruptures the bag, which, however, is trapped by Sinsky in the special containment unit. She does it just in time, yeah. After struggling against Sinsky and Langdon to open the container, Brooks's last ally is killed by special units. The weapon is secured for analysis, while Langdon and Sinsky ruminate on the idealism of youth and the future of humanity. Yeah. So that's different from the book. Yeah, here we go. In the book, they find, right, so the ending is much less dramatic in the book. They go to Hagia Sophia. They find that the plague is in the cistern, but discover Brooks is already there. The bag that held the plague, because Sienna Brooks does indeed. She's one of these strange characters. You can't quite work out whose side she's on. It's very odd. It's quite skillful, actually, to put a character like that into a story. As a fiction writer, I can appreciate things like that. So they find Sienna. She learned that when the plague was being kept after Langdon extracted the text from the illustration, after watching the Zabrish video, they think that the bag containing the plague is going to be fully dissolved by the date the video specifies, and the clues eventually lead them to Zabrish's location in Hagia Sophia. You think when you're reading the book that what's going to happen is exactly like in the film. There's going to be like a really tense ending, and they're going to seal it in the containment facility just before the bag pops. But then they find that the plague is in the system, but discover that Brooks is already there. The bag that held the plague has already been broken. They just find little scraps of it, spreading to the world via visiting tourists. And then again, what happens is with Sienna, he chases after Sienna, and she gets into a boat, and then she eventually comes back. The date specified in Zabri's video was the mathematical calculation of when the entire world would be infected, which has already happened. The plague that Zabri's created is revealed to be a vector virus that randomly activates to employ DNA modification to cause sterility 1/3 of humans. There you go. And the thing is about vector viruses. What's really interesting, because I looked into this, a vector virus was kind of I can't say too much on YouTube, but it was not unlike how a certain medical treatment works to protect people from viruses. One that was used recently in a global disease risk. If you read how the vector virus works, it's very similar to how its description of how that particular treatment works. And it says Brooks reveals. Then you get this really weird. You often get this with Dan Brown. Sometimes good guys turn out to be bad guys, and bad guys turn out to be good guys. Brooks reveals that she was trying to stop the virus herself. distrusting the WHO, fearing the virus will be weaponized if they found it. The leader of the consortium, who tries to escape WHO custody, but is caught later. Brooks receives amnesty in exchange for working with the WHO to address the crisis, since she has extensive knowledge of Zabriest's research and work. And at the end, there's this feeling that there's this sense that, I mean, I've already been through this in the review. Very true, Sinsky said, seemingly unsurprised by what she had heard. But of course, there is the bigger issue. We might not want to counteract it. Her words caught Sienna off guard. I'm sorry? Mrs. Brooks, I may disagree with Bertrand's methods, but his assessment of the state of the world is accurate. The planet is facing a serious overpopulation issue. If we manage to neutralize Bertrand's virus without a viable alternative plan, we're simply back to square one. Not a viewpoint you expected to hear from me. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Brown is sympathetic to Malthusianism and to depopulation. It was Marley. I'm gonna block Marley. This is ridiculous. Hang on, Marley. You're not funny anymore, right? The only reason I didn't block you is because you're funny, but you're not being funny. So, oh no, he's leaving anyway. I'm full of boring people. I'm off to watch the Dodo positive visit videos. Right. Well, you're the one who wanted to watch me. Let me just get rid of this person. There we go. Bye bye, Marley. Yeah, I've got rid of him now. I think it's a him. I only tolerated him when he was funny. He's not funny now. So, you know, the consortium are like these people. They've got this headquarters on this ship and run by this weird guy. And he whatever they do, whatever they want done, and the client pays enough money, they just do it and they don't answer questions. The only reason that this entire situation in the book happened is because they decide to break that rule. Leon, Marley Pumpkin is like someone who gate crashes a birthday party and then criticizes the quality of the sausage rolls. Yes, absolutely. Tolkien said it was such a strange ending. My question is Dan Brown warning us or agreeing with it or what? I think the latter, you know. I think he's kind of sympathetic to it. DJ says, as Anthony Hilder would say, Ron Howard, Illuminati or Illuminati. I loved Anthony Hilder, but I think he went a bit too far with certain things. I actually met him before he died. I met him before he died, yeah. So, yeah, really strange ending. That's right, they're on a ship. They're on this ship, but they're not accountable by law. I forgot the name of the guy the strange guy who runs the ship. I know it's the consortium. There's a guy in this cubicle who processes the video and sends it to the media, but then he decides to let his boss know, and the boss first says, "Come on, we're not here to question things like this. We have to just obey orders from the client," and then they do. You know. Hello, Welsh Ripper. How you doing? Blackwood. Is that the name of the guy? No, he's called something else. I think he's just called the Provost. The Provost. That's it. The Provost. The Provost. I imagined him as this kind of like gangster type character, sort of slightly swarthy, you know, white suit, smoking cigars, stuff like that, drinking. And he's portrayed drinking brandy. That's the only. I think it's the only illustration in the book. The World Population Growth Chart. I've got one behind me. You can see. Now this is a projection of world population. You can't actually see all of it on here, but the line you can see here. The line goes up it goes. Now this yellow cone is the maximum minimum projected population growth, and it's projected by the 21st century to reach a peak and then decline. But of course, as Kevin Stacey, what's his name? Not Kevin. I want to get the name right. Kevin Christie, he says, I'm not going to play you the clip because I almost lost the video for a copyright thing. Kevin Christie, he says, or the guy Wilson, who he recruits, and he manages to persuade to change sides. Says by that time it will be too late. By that time it'll be too late. Oh, this is interesting, right? Origin is which is his book after. Robert Langdon Goes to Spain, and is essentially about the Antichrist. Well, I might watch that. I might read that because I did like the Da Vinci Code, so I might read the Origin. Maybe we could do a watch party about that. Yeah, Utopia has a similar theme, actually. I mean, the original British one on Channel 4 is better. Wilson should have been a volleyball. It was, but only that film also had Tom Hanks in it, didn't it? When he loses his mind, starts talking to this ball. But Utopia first was produced by Channel 4 in 2011, and then it was remade in 2018, I believe. No, 2020. Yeah, it was 2014. So it was 2013, 2014 British thriller drama. And it was there was two series. And then in 2020 there was one Amazon made their own version with which had John Cusack playing the well, there's no equivalent in the original one. It wasn't as good, but I'll tell you what, it had a kind of warning. If you watch it on Amazon, it had like a warning beforehand saying this is not meant to refer to any real pandemic and any real V-word campaign, because it's just a bit too close to the truth, isn't it? A bit too close to the truth. And when I was reading like the clip with Kevin Christie when he tells those pesky meddling kids, to use Scooby-Doo terminology, he tells those meddling kids exactly what he's doing. There's the comments underneath are amazing, Ooh, great documentary. Ooh, so true to life, things like that. Yeah. Then they cancelled the second series. Yeah, Amazon cancelled the second series. I wonder why. The original Channel 4 series was never completed either. There was going to be a third series which they cancelled. Yeah, cancellation. Utopia was cancelled by Channel 4 in 2014. And it says here, Channel 4 made this statement. Utopia is truly channel defining, striking original, powered by Dennis Kelly's extraordinary voice and brought to life in all its technicolor glory through Mark Munden's undeniable creative flair and vision. The team at Kudos delivered a series which has achieved fervent cult status over two brilliantly warped and nail-biting series. It also has the honor of ensuring audiences will never look at a spoon in the same way again. Yeah, that refers to the torture scenes, which are horrible in both films. It's always painful to say goodbye to shows we love, but it's a necessary part of being able to commission new drama, a raft of which we are launching on the channel throughout 2015. Yeah, so this is such a popular series, right? But we have to get rid of it. We have to get rid of it. We want to make space for something new. Like hell. Someone powerful had a word with them and saying, hang on, you're getting a bit too close to the truth about what we're planning to do. You're getting a bit too close. And it said here, I mean, it's actually pretty shocking. I mean, the torture scene with the spoon, of course, which they do to Wilson in both of the series is horrible. And they're both very similar because the characters of Wilson and Arby are very similar in both. But you get, like it says here, child actors involved in scenes of adult content. For example, there's a scene where a child is actually shot, which is considered to be taboo in most programs. Yeah. Hello, Stephen Truthseeker. How you doing? So a lot of it often comes back to this guy. A lot of everything we're talking about here was inspired by this chap here. I'll show you him. Thomas Robert Malthus. Yeah. He's quite a character, he is. Quite a character. Born the 14th of February 1766, died 29th of December 1834. English economist, influential in the fields of political economy and demography. His 1798 book, An Essay on the Principles of Population, Malthus observed that an increase in a nation's food production improved with the well-being of a population. But the improvement was temporary because it led to population growth, which then restored the original per capita production levels. In other words, humans had a propensity to use abundance for population growth rather than for maintaining a high standard of living. This became known as the Malthusian trap. A pessimistic view that's sometimes referred to as a Malthusian catastrophe. So that's which you've already described, and indeed it's been described by people as they're comparing humans to, it's like Richard Heinberg. What does Richard Heinberg, like for example, Richard Heinberg says, he says, are humans more intelligent than yeast? And that sounds very misanthropic. What he means is that we act like yeast. If you ferment things, if you're making bread or you're making an alcoholic drink, you put sugar in and the yeast consumes the sugar and produces alcohol and produces. But what it does is it reaches a certain point, and what happens? It dies. It dies and it turns into marmite, basically, which sinks to the bottom of the vat, and then you can scrape it out, put sugar in it, and then spread it on your bread. But that's basically yeast extract. It's dead yeast. So Heinberg is saying, and Malthus was saying this centuries before, do we want to end up as Marmite? However, there's a bit of a problem. The problem is that, in fact, the best thing I can do is probably show you a video I made in the past. Let's have a look. If I can, no, here we go. I wonder if I can show you the video by Eric Pianka without breaching copyright. Let's have a look. Obviously, I'm claiming fair use on everything I do here. It's really inconvenient because the YouTube algorithm simply detects you using material and then they just ban it, and then you have to write to them and explain how it's fair use. It's damn annoying. Nearly all the time, whenever I do this, they've actually sustained my appeal. But it's just you lose your video for a couple of days because of that. Here we go. Hang on. No, I don't think I need to. I don't need to show it to you. Hang on. Let's see. This is 14 years ago. Surely this isn't going to be a problem. I'll show you this first, and I'll show you the film. The film I made about Pianka. Any new people I've got to say hello to? No, you're all still there. I won't be able to answer every single comment you make, but I'll answer as many as I can. So, population control. There we go. It's a 14-year-old video. I'm claiming fair use on it. I don't. Terry Joyce has like a banner she puts across the bottom, explaining basically it's a transformative work. I don't know how to do that actually. I'll have to try that at some point. I don't know. I'll have a word with Terry and maybe she can. She's technically better than I am on her videos. So let's have a look. Let's just watch this one here, and I'll watch you the video I made about it. I won't show you the recording I've done with him. Here we go. No InfoWars. This is going to be fun.
Now, a story that's certain to get you hot and bothered. The Texas Academy of Science recently gave its top honor.
Oh, I think that's just like this has been uploaded by someone who's just advertising InfoWars.
To a University of Texas biologist who says the Earth would be better off if 90% of the human population.
I've liked this. Why did I like this? God knows.
Was wiped out. Professor Eric Pianka says people have grown fat, apathetic, and miserable. He predicts a disease like the...
You might have, Eric, but the rest of us haven't.
Ebola virus will give the human population a much-needed correction. Here to talk about his doomsday scenarios from Austin, Texas, Professor Eric Pianka. Professor, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
It sounds like you don't like people very much, describing the...
That's Tucker Carlson. That's a young Tucker Carlson. I just realized. Oh, wow.
Earth is wildly overpopulated and saying we'd be better off if 90% died. Do you hate people?
No, I don't hate people.
Then why would the Earth be better off if 90% of us were dead?
I didn't say 90%, but there are too many of us on this Earth.
Okay.
The 90% was somebody else's number.
What percentage do you think would be good to reduce the human population by?
We need to get down to sustainable levels. We passed those back in the 80s.
But people are still living here,
So,
and
so presumably he's talking about like 4 billion or something. I bet you he really means lower.
they're being sustained by definition if they're alive. So why do we need to kill people off? Or why is it good that people die?
I'm not advocating any kind of homicide or anything.
Right.
I've been misquoted and abused, and my words and views have been distorted and twisted by fools.
Well, you have an opportunity now to tell us your views directly.
There are too many of us on this earth, and we are taking too much of the earth and too many habitats. And there are more people on this earth than Earth can support. And there were 25 years ago.
Right. There are far more people now than there were on Earth 25 years ago. That's right. But those people are being sustained perfectly well.
Well, half of them are starving, and they don't have access to food or fresh water. Do you call that being sustained?
Well, half people on Earth are in fact not starving. I mean, that's a completely made-up statistic. I don't know.
Is that because of population levels, though?
Where you got it. But
well,
no, people
in India and Bangladesh and Pakistan and Afghanistan and Africa are in very bad shape.
Right. There's a lot of misery in the world, no doubt about that. Would it be better if those people were dead?
I'm not saying anything like that. Don't try to put words in my mouth.
I'm not. I'm merely asking a question.
The point of my talk, which has been widely distorted and misinterpreted, was that we have taken too much of the surface of the earth, and that we're not leaving anything for anything else. I'm an ecologist.
Right.
I need wild animals in pristine natural environments to study my discipline. And we are destroying those at an incredible rate, and we haven't stopped.
Right.
And humans are now using half of the surface of the earth, and more than half the fresh water, and half of the solar energy that hits this earth. That means we've left only half of it for all the other denizens of this planet.
Yes. There are a lot of people.
That's pretty greedy.
Well, it may absolutely be, but I guess ordinary people, normal people, look at that scenario and say, that's right, the animals may be getting shortchanged here. You may be absolutely right about that. But on the other hand, you have people being born, children growing up to be adults. I mean, that's a good thing. People are good, right? It's good to have people around. Children are good. You look at it and you say, you describe the people on this earth as useless.
Well, I think that's enough. I think we need to. I don't want to see any more of that. I don't think we've covered enough of it. Let's go through your comments now. Let's go see if there's any here. Hopefully, Alan, you're all right with the bins. Yeah. Tolkien says, I saw a video last year, heatwave in England, where the guy made a bin into a tub and was just chilling in it. Yeah, I made an entire video about the heat wave. If you might be interested, because I actually made a lot of points in that video. I'm going to make in this video. Rhiannon, maybe you like the fact that he's bringing you the information that you and that you agree with the information. Not that you agree with the information. Could be that's it. Yeah, could be. Where is this? Tolkien says, anyone proposing population control should start with themselves. Yeah, I make that joke. Don't I make that kind of joke? It's not. Is it a joke in my video about energy politics and UFOs, or one of my other videos? I can't remember one of my live talks. You know, as Bill Hicks said, set a good example. Talk people like Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab, who are some of the biggest consumers on the earth. It's always someone else, though, isn't it? It's always somebody else. And where is it here? Hello, Caroline McGreal. How do you do? I'm not bad, thanks. Now, David says David has already anticipated the point I'm going to make. There are more than enough resources and room on the Earth for several times the current population. Yeah. So why this? I was going to ask that question, and I'm going to play your video in a minute. And Rihanna says again, half the people starving, and not starving because of lack of resources. Correctly. Pat Wright says, the Killing Joke's The Great Cull is worth a listen. Reference Thomas Malthus, Codex Alimentarius. I'll tell you a good film to watch is one, even the title I can't say on YouTube, but I actually did an Alt Tech exclusive review of it. It's the one that's, well, it's looking at Thesaurus, expired without warning, because they talk about the whole Malthusian thing. So let me just go to, now, the question is all of this true? Are we really facing a Malthusian catastrophe, or is something else going on? Let me just play you a video I made a long time ago, and here we go. This was way back in like 2011. My goodness me, part 1. It's called Eric Pianka and
Hospital Porters.
Eric Pianka and Overpopulation.
Pride and dignity stop the new
And that's
world
a very
order. Welcome to
that's a very young, skinny me there you're seeing. So can you see? I hope you can see all that. You should be able to.
TV. Well, today I'm going to discuss an environmental issue. I've spoken about environmental issues
How long
before.
is this? 9 minutes. Good.
For instance, climate change, and I've said quite clearly that the global warming thing is a load of crap. Man-made carbon emissions are not the cause of climate change. I think the environment is one of the biggest concerns people have at the moment. I mean, it's on everyone's mind, along with money and finance and war and everything. You know, it's one of the biggies of the concerns. Do you know what I mean? I mean, everyone talks about it. Everyone's worried about it. The thing is, environmental activism has changed. I mean, since I was a kid, you know, these guys with beards and glasses, with life jackets on, who sail their boat into the path of whaling ships. You know, you don't see them anymore. You know, modern environmental activists wear business suits and they attend secret meetings.
I'm just going to stop for a moment.
Financiers and politicians.
Okay, I'm just going to put the player. I'm just going to put the player over there like that. Okay, hang on. I'll do this. Okay, so the player. So now you can actually see it, and I can see your comments. Okay, so you should be able to see this and hear it. Okay. Hello, John Nolan. How do you do? Hello, Tor Engen. This way, I can still see your comments and talk to you, so I can stop at various points and answer your comments, because some of you might make comments that interrupt and which are necessary.
That gives me some cause for concern. You know what I mean? And these sort of eco heroes, these leaders of the environmental movement I just described, they have a large number of underlings, people who are less important in the movement, or just supporters and admirers, and who believe what they say and want to go along with it.
Tor says, when if we have. Oh, here we go. Just move that out of the way. When, if we have a lack of food, why do the EU want to ban farmers? Good question, Tor. It's almost as if they quite like the fact that we have a food supply crisis, isn't it? I wonder why.
Who are concerned about carbon emissions and peak oil and things like that, and they follow these guys, you know, and they do their work for them, you know. And a good example of that is a man called Eric Pianka. Now, if you put his name in, and
it was actually Ian R. Crane who first mentioned Eric Pianka. He mentioned this talk he did in Texas, which was not recorded, by the way, and Pianka keeps saying he's been misrepresented. Although I actually did manage to get hold of a recorded talk by him where he says things like Homo sapiens, Homo saps, more like. He does express a most terrible misanthropy.
Look at his you Google this. I put his name in the description box, so have a look at that. You'll find various interviews on YouTube. Not many. There's a lot of interviews talking about him. There's not many interviews with him. Now, the thing is not like he's been quoted at a lecture in Texas as saying that 95%.
69 Phuket. Watch the recording. It's all right. You'll pick it up, mate. You'll pick it up.
Of the world's population should be eliminated. No, he doesn't go into much detail about that. He talks about population control and stuff like that, in terms of reproduction, sex, you know. But you know, there was no. Unfortunately, he reckons he's been misquoted in many of his interviews. He will say, "Oh, I was misquoted. I didn't really say that." Unfortunately, the lecture he talks about was not recorded. No minutes were taken. So we can't prove him on that. But I mean, the thing about, there are some lectures by Pianka that are available online, but you won't get them on YouTube or Google Video or any streaming sites. What you've got to do, you have to go to the link, another link that I put in the description box below. Have a look, and you'll see there's a link to a website with some files you can download and watch.
Right, I'm just going to check if that's still there, actually. So just bear with me, guys. I'm just curious. I want to see if that's still there. Am I? Yeah, I'm now. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, it may be after all these years. Human overpopulation crisis. Okay, it's this page here. It's still there, believe it or not, after like 12 years. The Human Overpopulation Crisis by Eric R. Pianka. Now, I don't know if these videos still work or not. Because there's some videos here you can download, I think. Well, I downloaded them. All right. There is no Planet B. That became like a tagline of Extinction Rebellion and the Greta Thunberg supporters and people like that. So you can go and check that out. And I'll tell you what, if the videos don't work, look, if anyone wants me, if any of you want me to share you Pianka's talk, just email me or inbox me on Facebook, and I will share with you I'll share the Pianka videos I've got with you. Okay. Hello, Deb Allen. How'd you do? Just hi. I just got wind. What's good? Just joined. Just what's going on? Oh, welcome, Deb. Phuket said, "Oh, all right. I'm not gonna mess around, guys. Okay, that's a voice from up on high. All right, which for Deb and Phuket, we're talking. This is a watch read party live stream all about this book, Dan Brown's Inferno, and the film that was adapted from it. All right, so yeah, and in fact, Rhiannon has done the favour of already informing them. Thank you very much, Rhiannon, for that. Now let's go back to. Let's return to that particular video here. Here we go.
Now the 26.5 minute one.
This is not my son, by the way. It's me 12 years ago, just in case you're wondering. Don't mention the Barbie movie, Phuket, please.
Is the most interesting. It's the most incriminating, because in that his misanthropy really comes out. You know, he says Homo sapiens, no, we're Homo saps and things like that, and he compares humanity to bacteria. You know, things like that. The biggest cause of concern that he has, and you know, and many people have, and some people actually say, if you,
I know, wasn't I cute, Rhiannon? Yeah. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Here we go. Wasn't I cute? Yes, I was in those days.
you solve this problem, all the others like global warming, peak oil, you know, solve themselves as a result. But the problem he talks about is overpopulation.
Still no hair though.
Right, and the fact that the Earth simply has too many people on it, and it has exceeded its sort of bioeconomic capacity, and basically and what's happening is humans are spreading and they're eating up all the resources and they're consuming the entire biomass of the Earth until eventually there'll be nothing left except a desert, and then we'll die, and with the rest of with everything else. Now, that's not true. Okay, the world is not overpopulated.
Correct, Rhiannon. Yes, you're right. As I just said, the world's so Deb and Phuket, I'm just about to explain. You have to watch the recording to get the full picture. but I discuss the book. The book in particular, this one, appears to be sympathetic to the idea of Malthusian apocalypse, that is overpopulation. And I've just explained here the world is actually not overpopulated. So if any of you are wondering where I'm going with this, I'm going to explain in more detail.
And I'm going to explain why. Firstly,
what's that behind my
there's
ear?
four main concerns.
It's a piece of tissue paper because I had like a sore spot behind my ear. I remember that. I had to put tissue paper behind my ear whenever I washed it.
Regarding overpopulation, right? They address is first one is space. The next one is energy. The third one is food, and the fourth one is water. Okay. Now I'm going to address. Well, I've addressed one of them already, which is energy. And now, if you look into the description box again, you'll see there's a link to a movie called Freikraft. Now, that's a film I made about free energy, and the details are all there about how the government has suppressed free energy technology. Some people say peak oil is a myth, and
I've made dozens of other videos on that subject since then as well, which are actually better than Freikraft. But you can watch Freikraft if you like. I'm quite proud of it.
That oil wells basically replenish themselves if you leave them alone for say 20 years. Oil is actually the theory is that oil is actually not a fossil fuel. Ian R. Crane talks a lot about this. Of course, if that ever came out, then the oil prices would go through the floor, and also this useful little nightmare would no longer exist.
Yeah.
So it's kept quiet.
It's not the only nightmare they want to keep going, doesn't it?
From us, But I mean, if you take into account the free energy conspiracy that I talk about in my film, the whole peak oil question becomes academic. So have a look at that. Now, water is another thing that's been dealt with. I mean, water, really, the water problem is dealt with by free energy. Once you have
DJ, I miss Ian R. Crane very badly, yeah.
Free energy, you can desalinate seawater and pump it to wherever you want. You can pump it to places where you can irrigate the land and give water for people to drink. You can basically turn salty seawater into fresh drinking water for almost no cost at all. And
let me read you. There's a scene at the end of Roswell Rising, a novel of disclosure. Okay, which is my available at all good bookshops now. There's actually a scene where this is described. Here we go. The water. This is my character talking. The water that is about to emerge comes from the sea, but it is not salty. The salt and other harmful impurities have been removed from it at the new desalination plant at the other end of the pipeline at the Gulf of Tajura in Djibouti. The means to desalinate seawater has been known for many centuries, but to do it on a practical level was impossible because of the energy needed that came from fossil fuels and was very restricted and had to be paid for. This desalination plant runs off a Digby carousel, a machine invented in Canada in 1915 by Jemima Digby and immediately classified top secret. It desalinates the seawater for almost no money at all. The fresh water then travels along this pipeline without any pumps. It can even flow uphill. It uses the water's own internal energy discovered by the Austrian forester Victor Schauberger in 1930, and, you guessed it, immediately classified top secret. This new irrigation system is just the first of a whole array of them that will be built all the way along the east coast of Africa. It will turn this parched wasteland into a new Garden of Eden. It means that hunger and thirst will never return to your continent again. Then a rumbling sound rose from the pipe. Like an approaching storm it started, and as just a whisper and increasing to a thundering roar. Then a torrent of the clearest water burst out of its maw, drops of it glittering like diamonds in the sunlight. It crashed into the bottom of the new reservoir and formed a pool, swirling and bubbling deliciously. The crowd of people leapt in the air with delight. They ran down the hard-packed bowl of the pond and jumped into the water fully clothed. They splashed around like children, whooping and singing for joy. The women had large clay pitchers, which they dipped into the expanding lake and filled them to the brim. They then carried them up the slope to where a row of children waited with cups and beakers. The whole population of the village gulped and swigged the water blissfully. So, £10 at all good bookshops now if you want it. I do recommend it. even though I am biased, of course. That's enough of me. Let's return to me.
No energy at all, almost, because all the energy is free. Now, there's two left, which is space and food. Now, I'm going to deal with space first. Now, I'm just going to adjust the camera now. I don't know if you can see. I'll just zoom in a little.
I've got to share a TikTok video later. I must remember to do that because someone sent me one. You'll see it on my social media.
That's it. Ooh. So let's get it right.
See how good I was at editing in those days.
You
Yeah?
can see that. I've lifted up actually. This here. Where is it? Can you see it?
Well, don't ask.
That there is a population.
Why are you asking them, mate? You're recording this in advance.
Density chart of the Earth. Okay. It's population density chart of the Earth. Now, basically, the red areas are the most densely populated.
I'll see you, Pat Riot. Take it easy. Thanks for posting.
Areas. The blue areas are kind of. Have I got it in the right place? Sorry about this. I can get in there.
I have, DJ. Yeah, I've improved a lot when it comes to editing and camera work. This is my early period when
I'm getting there.
I'd only been making videos for a couple of years.
Yeah, the red areas are. The red areas there are the densest places, and the white areas are not densely populated. The brown areas are sort of in between. There's different scales, yellow, brown. Okay, that's the population density chart of the Earth. Okay, the red areas are in the red areas there are over 256 people per square mile. In the white areas, there's under 8 per square mile. This is the Phillips Atlas of the Earth. Right. So for the first thing that strikes you about this is that basically most of the world, there's hardly anyone in most of the world. There's well, firstly, 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, by the sea. So if we go and live in houseboats, that problem's solved. Of the remaining 30% of land surface, more than half of it is virtually uninhabited. Now, of course, in the red areas, you've got like red areas where there's densely populated. For instance, dense population. For instance, here, as you can see that there's a. Here you see there's a big red blotch that covers sort of like the English Midlands and the sort of Mid Scotland area. Now let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at that in more detail. Right. This is the map. This is another map. This is the British Isles. Okay. Now this red area is basically all this. It's the English Midlands here, the sort of central Scotland and Fife area. Where there's a lot of very dense population. But even within that area, you can see here in the sort of like Cumbria area and the Pennines and the Scots Lowlands, there are white areas where there's under 16 people per square mile. So as you see, there's plenty of space for everyone. Absolutely no problem there at all. So that is dealt with.
DJ B2 says, for maps and pics, I recommend a fixed tripod. Yeah, I made this 12 years ago. I've learned a few things since then, DJ.
There's no shortage of space for anyone. And I'm going to address the other problems in part 2 of this film. See you then.
Right, let's go on to part 2. Interestingly, I got onto... I was when I made this video 12 years ago, I was immediately challenged by somebody who completely disagreed with me. And I talked to this person for quite a while.
Hi, welcome to part 2.
Okay, let's go back. I got talking. It turned out this person was a... oops, there we go. This person was a 14-year-old girl from Hawaii. And she was convinced. I mean, she was convinced about the whole overpopulation thing. And we had a good-natured but very long debate about the whole thing, and in the end, we sort of parted on good company, good terms.
Hi, welcome to part 2 of this Panmo TV film on overpopulation and
How long is this?
the words of Eric Pianka. Now, I've just shown you that basically there's plenty of space on this planet for everyone. There's no shortage. In fact, if you put everyone close together so they were standing side by side, they'd fit on the Isle of Wight. You know, maybe 6.5 billion people on this planet, but it's a big planet. Okay, it's a big, big planet. Obviously, the space here is not infinite, but there's obviously, it's not filled up yet by any means. In fact, everyone could have a house and a garden and live in Texas. That one.
Okay, so we dealt with energy and space. As I say, water solves itself. The water problem solves itself, as I've just read a passage from my book, Roswell Rising, a novel of disclosure. So there's only one thing left. That's food. That's the only issue left. Food.
Place has enough room for everyone in the world.
That's true, actually. If we put everyone in one city, it all depends on the density. I mean, if it was like I say, everyone had a house and garden, it would be about the size of Texas or the size of France. But if you packed everyone in really close together, supposing it had the population of Macau in China, which is the most dense, it's actually a special administrative region of China, former Portuguese colony, which has is the most densely populated place on Earth. Then you'd be surprised how big do you think that city would be? Any guesses? So I won't wait. Everyone's typing frantically. But I'll just see if anyone knows. I'm sorry if I haven't answered everyone's comments, by the way. New Forest in Hampshire. It's lovely. Yeah, I know. I went through the New Forest on my way to New York, said Deb Allen. Not bad, Deb. It would be the size, if you mean New York State, no, it'd be smaller than that. It would be the size of Northern Ireland. That's it. You could put everyone in the world into a city, and with the density of Macau, and it'd be the size of Northern Ireland. Now, it wouldn't be a very nice place to live. In fact, it'd be bloody horrible. If you imagine, 6.5 billion people shoved into a space that small, we'd all be living in like high-rise blocks of flats, and there'd be no open space. But it's just a thought experiment. It disproves disproves a major part of the overpopulation hypothesis that Eric Pianka talks about. So I'll just carry on now, because we've dealt with space, we've dealt with energy, and therefore water, which are really the same problem together. What about food? Let me just share that. There we go, and share screen. Take it away. Where am I now?
Things.
Yeah.
Now then, food. This is the only real serious concern, actually, and it is on the surface. It looks like a problem, you know.
But then again, with water irrigation, like I've just described, it's partly solved, isn't it?
We have, you know, much of the fertile land of the earth is covered by farms, which grow food for the population. And of course, the more people you have, the more farms you need. The seas are being overfished, etc., etc., etc. All right, so that is a serious concern. But again, there is a solution, and this is similar to the free energy thing, okay? Because there is a solution, but it's suppressed. In the same way, we're using Stone Age energy technology in this 21st century world. We're using Stone Age food production methods too. And what I mean by Stone Age is, well, maybe I shouldn't say Stone Age, because actually, there's a lot of evidence that primitive cultures actually had better farming methods than we do. You see, because we've got this idea in our head that the kind of farms we have today, factory farms, you know, battery chickens, cows filled with hormones and antibiotics.
Oh my goodness, my old pussycat.
You know, the modern.
Oh, that's lucky. Oh my goodness, my old pussy. I remember I lived with 5 cats in that house. I remember we had 5 cats. I miss those cats.
Modern chemicals they put on the land, you know, pesticides, fertilizers, things like that. That is the ultimate in food production. That's the most you ever get out of farms, you know. That's not true. And what's more, these methods are very destructive.
DJ Beauty says thorium nuclear reactors for power. DJ, check out my various free energy videos, or check out the portal. All right, let me just find the portal for you. Where is it? Get your mug out of the way. Here we go. All right, you should be able to see that. DJ, I'd say this to everyone actually. Please check out this portal on Hapanwo Voice. Sorry, on the main Hapanwo site. And there's a lot here, but it answers all these questions. Like almost any question you could come out with, right, will be somewhere. There's my Eric Pianka and overpopulation video we're watching now. It'll be somewhere on this portal. I swear to you. Let me just put it in the. I'll just put it in there, like, so you can actually see it. I'll just put a link in the live chat now. Okay, so there it is. So you can check that out. Hello, Sorenable. How are you doing? DJ has a cat named Lima. That's a nice name. Tokyo has 14 million. Yeah, it's a big city. All right, so let's go back to my video. So we're nearly done now with this video, but
we're experiencing erosion of topsoil.
I could simply just repeat all the points I'm making here, but I thought I'd just let you watch this. A bit of a blast from the past as well.
Poisoning of the environment. It could be that the disappearing bees problem is partly caused by chemicals in the environment. We're also seeing terrible animal cruelty. You know, intelligent creatures like pigs, which have the same kind of brain as brain power as a dog, are being spending their whole lives kept in pens where it's too small even to turn around, and they're poisoned and they're fattened up for the slaughter.
I'm keeping very well, thanks, Sorenable. I hope you are too.
And all things like that, well, that's not the ultimate and best way to produce food, even if it was morally right. There's a man called Francisco de Orellana. He was a sort of 16th century explorer who traveled along the river Amazon. He was the first Westerner to see the river Amazon in South America. And when he sailed his boat along the river Amazon, he came across a huge civilization that lined the riverbanks for hundreds of miles. Millions of people lived along the banks of the river Amazon. And they had very, very good lives. They were very, very plentiful, very, very well-fed people, very healthy people. And in fact, they only started getting sick when Orellana and his men brought diseases, which eventually wiped them out. And what amazed him was, he said, where do they get all their food? Where's all the farmland? They live in a forest. They weren't hunting and gathering. You couldn't build a civilization that big on a hunter-gatherer culture. These were settled people, civilized people. But they only had very, very small plots of land. Well, the answer is the kind of farming methods they were using. They had invented something, they created something, or they used something, which became known as terra preta, which is Portuguese for dark soil. And it's because it's black earth that covers some part. It still covers some parts of the Amazon. It's used today. It's incredibly fertile soil. Now, if you use terra preta, you can increase the yield of farmland many-fold. I mean, basically, with terra preta, you could basically feed your family from a window box. That's how fertile it is. And what's more, it doesn't erode with time.
I think that might have been a slight exaggeration, but it's an interesting point. It does increase the yield of farmland manyfold. It allows the Amazon civilization to have flourished when Orellana went through there, despite having very little land to grow food on.
You treat it properly. You don't put chemicals on it. You use natural organic farming methods, and that terra preta will last you virtually indefinitely. There's things. Have you heard of ormus? White powder gold, things like that. I suspect the terra preta may well be ormus based.
God blimey, I've forgotten all about this. Ormus. Everyone I was still on the old David Icke forum when I made this video, and they were all going on about ormus all the time. There were books written about it. I remember that.
The question is, why aren't we using these things today? That's a good question. And I suspect the Illuminati are actually keeping this secret from us, like they are the free energy thing. And the reason they're doing that, well, I think because they want a lower population. They want to reduce the population. Now you've heard many videos about population reduction agendas and things like that. Now, this is a serious concern. I mean, if you see like vaccines, I mean, you've got Bill Gates talking about vaccine. He's another big power broker. He's another of these new eco warriors. He believes in the overpopulation myth. He believes in global warming, and he's rich and powerful. That's a dangerous combination. Now, he talks about vaccines. He made a speech when he mentioned vaccines. It sort of slipped out accidentally. He then covered it up and said, well, I didn't mean it like that. You know,
DJ Booty remembers ATS. Yeah, the above top secret forums. Weren't they great?
Now, you may have heard of Jane Burgermeister as well, and the swine flu conspiracy. You put those two together, and it's a very it fits.
So I think you get the picture, don't you? I don't need to go into this anymore. I think you get the picture of what I'm talking about here. I'm just curious to see if those comments are still there by that girl. Let's have a look. Blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. I don't think they are. Maybe her channel's gone. No, I got into this long debate with this 14-year-old girl from Hawaii. And, I think her comments are gone. And I was just thinking, that's the only time I spoke to her. We sort of parted on good terms. She was very, very convinced I was wrong, and I explained calmly why I wasn't. How old would she be now? She would be 26 now. I wonder if she remembered what I told her, or whether she's just like a cardboard cutout Greta fan. Hopefully, I had an influence on her. I'd like to know. I mean, I can't see her there, so she's obviously off YouTube now, or she's got a different channel. But just makes me think. It just makes you think, doesn't it? So that's it. I think covers everything, really. I want to bring up something else before we end, but I just wanted to say that anyone who, like Dan Brown, who may be sympathetic to the cause of the Zabrist character, whether it's based on Bertrand Russell or not, maybe it was. I don't know enough about Bertrand Russell. There's a couple of videos of him. I know he was an MBAer. He was an atheoskeptic MBAer, very much so. He made a couple of very interesting MBA comments, which I talk about in my. I actually mentioned the Bertrand Russell thing because I quote Andrew Copson talking about him in my skeptic talk. But really, this is a phantom menace, and what I suspect is that the threat of overpopulation is being used in the same way as the threat of climate change, which of course is connected, and the threat of everything else, the threat of this, the threat of that. The government is saying, to avoid the Malthusian catastrophe, we need an international state of emergency. Temporary, just a temporary one, just a temporary one, and then we'll just sort this out. This Malthusian situation out, and then we can go back to being a free world. All the power we took from the people, we will return to the people. We promise. You do believe us, don't you? What do you mean a hit and run? We've been going for an hour and a half, Phuket. What are you talking about? Or does anyone have any questions or comments? I'll take your questions and comments by all means. So anyone? Let me know. DJ Boot. Oh God, John Titor. Yeah, the guy. I wrote an article about him. It was made into a video on TV. I adapted it. I actually wrote a script for one of their videos on TV. John Titor. Well, everything he said, nothing he said came true, did it? Anyway, because he was supposed to be a time traveler from the future. So, questions or comments, guys? I'll give you a couple of minutes. Oh, we're all quiet. I'll tell you. I'll just give you a little while you're typing out. If you have any questions, right? How many of you remember this Silent Night? Now, this, of course, was a watch party I did. 69 Phuket. Barbie movie. Thoughts? I've not seen it, and I don't intend to. I'll be watching Oppenheimer. I'll try and do a road. If I get a time, I'll watch Oppenheimer. This Silent Night. I've got the DVD now. I did we did a watch party of it at Christmas because it is a Christmas film. So I'm not going to go into too much details now. It's just a preview, just to give you a little preview for the coming Christmas, which will be here sooner than we think. I've got the DVD of it. All right, and it has outtakes. It has about half an hour of deleted scenes, and it also has alternative ending scenes, and they're very interesting indeed. So I won't do an entire review of it. I won't do an entire thing, but I will be coming back to this film next Christmas. Just to let you know. War in Ukraine and Africa going to pot. Well, I don't believe anything I read in the news about the war in Ukraine. Africa, Africa is basically being used. Well, Africa has been used basically by Bill Gates and his team for a long time for things that you can't talk about on YouTube. But basically, they involve various medical treatments and experiments in certain kinds of weapons, which have done terrible damage to that continent, its people, and its culture. Hello, Lights were low. Oh man, Lights were, how you doing? David, no, don't you dare! Don't you dare! Wait for the Christmas shows. Wait for the Christmas live streams. How you doing, Lights? Sorry, Lights, we're nearly finished, mate. Sorry, but do you have any questions or comments? DJ, right. Lotus Eaters Barbie movie thoughts today. Right, I will watch that. I'm not going to watch the bloody movie, but I will watch. I always watch podcasts of the Lotus Eaters, so we'll see what Sargon and his team have to say about it. Yeah. So, anybody want to say anything? But I'll watch that later. Yeah. Anyway. I think you guys are all gone quiet. Okay, but I've obviously answered all your questions about this particular subject. Let's talk about what's coming up. Well, you may think I've been uploading and posting a lot lately, so I don't want to give you indigestion with too much, because I know some of you are still working your way through the Glastonbury video. Some of you are still on the Isle of Man video. Well, the good news is you're going to have time to catch up, because this is going to be my last video for probably over a week now. The reason is because I'm going to be very, very busy for this coming week. First things first, I'm going to go to Truth Seekers Teesside. I'm doing a talk for them on Wednesday. So if you're in the area, do come along. So just Google Truth Seekers Teesside. It's got all the details there. Then I'm coming back on Thursday. I will be recording it. I'll be recording it, and I'm probably just an audio for the Panmo show on a Panmo radio. But then I'm going off to Awaken Aware at the UFO Academy next weekend. So, yes, I'll be doing a video reportage of that. And so I won't be uploading, I won't be doing anything on Panmo TV now until after that. And there won't be a Panmo show on Thursday either, because I won't have time to do one. So so this will be the last Panmo TV you'll see for probably over a week now. So hope you enjoy it, and do please do remember you can catch up on all the old stuff if you missed it. Right, Lights Willow says, non-related, but how has Marley Pumpkin come back? I don't know, because I didn't block him, but I've just blocked him actually now, because he's come back and he's just been throwing his weight around and being an idiot and being obnoxious and not being funny. So I don't mind people being antagonistic if they're at least funny and they sort of like not over the top. But Marley was, so I just banned him. He's blocked now, so he'll probably come back under another account. I'll get rid of him as soon as he appears. All right, so Teesside. All right, where's that? Oh, here we go. Truth Seekers Teesside. All right, I'll do this. Truth Seekers Teesside. Where is it? Actually, they don't have anything online. All right. Right. Sorry, I did say go Google it, and they haven't got anything. One sec. I'll give you the details now. All right. So, all right. Right. I will be speaking at an event. It's this Wednesday coming, and the venue is the Synthonia Suites, Belassis Avenue, BELA. Let me just put it in chat. All right. Here we go. I'll just put it in the live chat. Right. This is the details. Here are the details. Right, there you go. Hello, Neil Attenbury. How you doing? Right. What about Sound of Freedom? Oh, I'd have to do an entire video about that. I've actually only watched half of it. I'll have to watch the rest. Okay, guys. So do come along to that if you're in the area. Well, Phuket, you were the one who's saying, "Oh, well, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? So where's that? Where's you say? Where's that? Where's that?" Okay, I've told you where it is, so don't complain. Side of the T. Oh yeah, that's right. We're gonna go play golf. That's right. Stand on the side of the T. So, guys, I want to say a big thank you to all of you for taking part in this video. Much appreciated. Thank you, 69 Phuket. Thank you, DJ B2, Tor Engen, Neil Attenbury. Sorry, you guys, you've just arrived. The lights were low. David Splendid Isolation. Who else is here? Rhiannon Jones, Caroline McGreal. Sorry if I left anyone out. Stephen Truthseeker, Deb Allen, Pat Riot, who's now left us, has gone now to bed. John Nolan, and anyone else I've missed out. Thank you very much, all of you. And of course, how could I forget? Not My Rabbit Hole with Terry Joyce. Thank you too. Well, Phuket, you didn't. Phuket. Sometimes you just have to watch the recording, right? You're welcome, David. Thanks very much, all of you. It's been good. Like I said, keep your eye on the channel. I'll be away for a little bit because I've been busy. Oh, you're welcome, Terry. You're welcome. I'll be away for a while because I'll be busy. Like I said, preparing for my talk on Wednesday, then going to Awaken Aware on the weekend. But after that, I'll be back with another video. I'll make a reportage for Awaken Aware, and I'll upload that. All right, because that'll probably be the first video I upload. Sure, likes, no problem. Let me know, and I'll share the Eric Pianka video with anyone who wants to email me, and I'll just share it with you. Okay, because unfortunately, I can't show it or anything like that. You too, Phuket, darling. Thank you. So this has been Hapanwo TV once again. Yeah. I love these videos. I love doing these live streams. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.